Noise has been the bane of photographers since the advent of digital photography. In fact, it's probably one of the leading causes of photographers missing pictures because they're afraid to raise the ISO sensitivity of their camera high enough to get a fast enough shutter speed to freeze the motion of their subject. This was a picture that was taken at ISO 3200 at 6:41 a.m. The sun was coming up but hadn't really cleared the trees yet, and if we look at it and blow it up, you can see there's plenty of digital noise in this picture. So let's take a look at what Lightroom can do to get rid of the noise in this situation. There are a couple of things that we want to do before we tackle the noise problem in this image. First, we want to make sure that the horizon is correct, and it looks like it is here. And second, we want to get rid of the lost detail in the image. And when we look at the histogram and the clipping warning triangle up here in the top left of the histogram, it tells us that both the red and the blue channels have been lost somewhere in the picture. So to recover the lost detail in that area, the first panel we'll go to is the tone curve panel, and we'll select the point curve. And since we know that from this triangle that it's the blue and red channels that are lost, what we'll do is we'll select the red channel, and then we'll just make a slight movement here up, and you can see that the triangle is now blue, indicating the blue channel hasn't been recovered yet. So we'll select the blue channel, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just make a slight movement up, and the triangle grays out. So we now know that there's no lost detail in the shadows in this image. And the way to verify that is to go up to the basic panel, hold down the Option key on the Mac, the Alt key on the PC, and click on the black sliders. We could also click on the shadows or the exposure slider, but we'll click on the black slider. The screen should turn white, and there should be no color in the screen, which means that all of the lost detail has been recovered. The next thing that I think should be done is we should lighten up the background just a little bit. And the way to do that is to go to the parametric curve by clicking on this icon down here at the bottom right, and we get the parametric curve where there are 4 sliders, and we're just going to deal with the darks and the shadows. And if you watch the picture, when we just make a slight movement with the darks and a little bit with the shadows, we lightened up the picture just a little bit. If I press the backslash key on the keyboard, you can see the difference that we've made in the picture. The next thing I want to do before I go after the noise in the image is to go up to the present sliders in the basic panel and take the clarity slider up to about 50 and take the texture slider up to about 20. The clarity slider is going to add detail to the midtones, and it'll seem to sharpen the picture a little bit. The texture slider may give us a little bit more detail in the bird's wings. So now we're ready to go after the noise and see how much that noise we can eliminate in Lightroom. And to do that, we're going to go down to the detail panel, which is found down here. It has this preview window, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the bird's eye in that preview window. And the way to do that is to click on this icon here and then bring it over the bird's eye and click on it. Now you can see that we've got the easiest part of the image to determine how much noise we're removing in the preview window. I'm also going to blow up the picture, so 2:1, so we've got a good idea how much noise we've got to work with. And you can see the detail panel has 2 sections. It's got a noise reduction section and a sharpening section, and we'll use both of them. We'll start with the color noise because we know there's some color noise in here. We probably just can't see it because we haven't blown the picture up high enough yet. So we'll just take the color noise up to a little bit over 30, and then we'll take the luminance slider and move it to the right until we see the digital noise starting to disappear. And once we've got a pretty decent noise reduction, then we'll go up to sharpening. And sharpening in Lightroom is edge sharpening. What Lightroom does is it goes out and looks for the areas of highest contrast in the image, which of course are the edges. And the amount slider wants to know how much do we want Lightroom to increase the contrast at those edges. So let's take the amount up to about 85 on this scale. And the radius slider wants to know how far away from the edge do we want, or the increase in the contrast to happen. Well, the farther away from the edge you move the contrast, the more soft the sharpening is going to look. So 1 is probably fine. We probably could take it down to 0.8 or 0.7, and that may make a little bit of a difference. The detail slider indicates how many edges do we want it to go out and find to sharpen, to increase the contrast at. And the more edges we find to increase the contrast, the more over sharpened the image can look. And 25 is the default, and that's probably fine. The masking slider does exactly what its name indicates. It masks the sharpening. And the way to use it is to hold down the Option key on the Mac, the Alt key on the PC, and click on the masking slider. When we do that, the screen turns white. As we slide the masking slider to the right, areas of the image turn black. The areas turning black are the areas where the sharpening is being masked. So when we let go of it, you can see that there is a little bit of sharpening, and the way to check it is to use this light switch up here at the top of the detail panel. I can turn off the noise reduction and sharpening by clicking on it, and you'll see how much we've accomplished by using the noise reduction and the sharpening. And when I turn it back on. So at this point, we've done a pretty decent job of reducing the noise and sharpening the picture, but there is one more step which can really make a difference in our image. And we take that step with the adjustment brush, which is found in the toolbar underneath the histogram right here. We can open it by clicking on it, or we can use the keyboard shortcut, which is the K key. Normally the adjustment brush is used to make a selective adjustment in an image, but in this case we're going to use it to make a global adjustment. And so the way we're going to do that, first we'll click on the effect, double click on the effect slider. That will reset our brush. Then we're going to make our brush very large, and we'll bring the picture back up full screen. We're also going to turn on the overlay mask, which can be done by clicking a box in the toolbar that says show selected overlay mask, or we can use the keyboard shortcut, which is the O key. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the whole image with the adjustment brush, and I haven't loaded it with any effects because I want to just make sure that I get the effect everywhere in the image first. Once I've done that, I'm going to turn off the overlay mask, and I just have to hit the OK to do that. And I'll come over here to the brush itself, and let's blow it up so you can see the adjustment that making the noise slider go to the right as far as possible will do. You can see that now we've got even less noise in the image. We could also add a little clarity if we chose to, and maybe just a little bit of texture to add some detail into the bird's wings. But what we've done is really gotten rid of a lot of noise in the image. If I bring up the before and after, you'll be able to see how much noise we got rid of using this technique. So the technique works pretty well with an image shot at ISO 3200. Let's see what we can do with an image that was shot at 25,600 ISO. If I blow it up full screen, you can see there's quite a bit of noise in this image. This is a pied hornbill in Thailand, and it was shot after the sun had gone down, and the bird's very difficult to photograph because it usually stays high in the tree and doesn't come out to eat until close to twilight. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to recover the lost detail in the shadows, and I'll do that in the tone curve panel, and I'll select the point curve, and we'll select the red channel and just make a slight adjustment. You'll notice that the triangle in the clipping warning turns cyan, indicating that green and blue have to be recovered. So we'll select green, we'll make a slight adjustment until the triangle turns blue, and then we'll select the blue channel and make a slight adjustment until the triangle grayed out. Now I know I've recovered all of the detail in this image, so I'm going to blow it up again, and what I want to do next before I go after the noise is I want to add a little clarity in the basic panel. We'll take that up to pretty close to 50, and a little bit of detail, a little bit of texture with that. area, and you can see the texture added noise to it. Now we'll go down to the detail panel, and we'll use our icon tool here and bring the bird's head into the preview window. And since we know there's got to be at 25,600 some color noise, we'll take the color slider up to about 50, and then we'll take the noise reduction slider, luminance, up until we can see we're getting rid of a lot of the noise. Then we'll sharpen the picture. We'll take it up to about 90 or so, and then we'll mask the sharpening with the masking slider. Holding down the Option key on the Mac, the Alt key on the PC turns the screen white, and as I move the slider to the right, you can see that everything that is turning black is being masked. So I've done as much as I want to do here. My next choice is to go to the adjustment brush over here in the toolbar underneath the histogram. When I click on it, or I can use the K key, which is the keyboard shortcut. And the next thing I'm going to do is turn on the overlay mask with the O key. I'm going to take the image back up full screen, and I'm just going to paint the entire image without any effect on the brush. I want to just paint until I get the effect all over the entire image. And then I'm going to turn off the overlay mask, clicking on the O key, and then I'm going to take the noise slider up as high as I can, and I'm going to blow him up again. You can see that I've done a pretty good job of getting rid of the noise in a picture shot at 25,600, and then I'll add some clarity and a little bit of texture just to try and bring back some detail. So here's the before and after, and you can see that Lightroom does a pretty good job of getting rid of the noise, even at images that are shot with ISO 25,600. This procedure is available in my latest book, Lightroom Classic Made Easy, version 9, which is available from Amazon.com on their website in both the hard copy and the Kindle version. Thanks very much for watching.